Akiva, his Wi-Fi is a little sketchy. No,
his line?
I think his Wi-Fi is a little sketchy. That's why he's.
So I'm going to tell him to call in to use it. He can
Yeah,
leave the picture on.
Right.
He'll
Shut
mute
the
his
mute.
phone.
Right. Let him have the picture, but then he'll call in and use the phone.
Good idea.
There you go.
Is my Wi-Fi clear or it's also blurry?
So what you can do is you can leave the camera on. You're using your phone.
Can't even hear you.
You can't hear him. Okay, so I'm going to tell him to call in.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I just went close.
Call his house.
listen, take the phone. Take your house phone if you want.
He can't hear you. He's frozen.
Okay, so one second. I got to call him. Maybe he can hear me.
Hope I have his house number.
What? Oh boy, very good. Okay, I'm gonna call him. Yeah, you think he's frozen? There he is. Rabbi Yankel, could you hear me?
Yeah, I just went near the box, so maybe it's clear.
It's still a little bit slow. I would suggest if you can have another phone, stay with that. I'm going to give you a number to call.
First of all, he has another phone.
No, let him give it over the phone, and then he can say, "Let me hear."
Does he have another phone?
Yeah, let me get another phone. 1 second.
Okay.
Reminds me of the antenna with the rabbit ears. You know? Hold it. Stand there.
With the silver foil.
Okay, I have a phone now.
Okay, so dial 647.
647.
Zoom call in.
558.
558. Yeah.
647-558.
0588.
Okay. And then I'll mute this one.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Mute that one. The same ID number.
What's the meeting ID?
603 550 7613.
550
7613.
7613.
Pound.
Oh, pound.
Pound. Now they're going to ask you for a password. You can write 129129.
Okay. I'm going to mute this phone.
Yeah.
And you mute that one. And now we won't get disconnected. You in?
Hit the pound.
Where's the last one?
You hear me?
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, now what you have to do.
I hear myself also.
Yeah. So what you have to do is if you have a pair of headphones, put it inside your smartphone.
Uh-huh.
Just put a little headphones in there.
Why it doesn't really mute when it says mute?
No, it doesn't matter because the sound still gets picked up.
Right. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Now we can only hear you through.
So I don't hear myself other than hearing now. I just wanted to.
Talking
I don't
to
hear
the
you
phone.
talking. You're all frozen, but it's okay. Hello?
Yeah, we hear you good.
Oh, okay, good.
Hear you very
Okay,
good.
so today is Erev Reish Chodesh 7, and the Shalom HaKadosh, he writes that there's a special inyan.
Go. He's just getting used to keep going.
Parents on this day, more than any other day of the year, can say a special tefillah that he himself composed. And this is a special tefillah that the hemshech of the Doiris of Klal Yisrael should be Yireim v'Shleimim. So this is a special opportunity, special time when people should actually look up this tefillah. I'm sure on the WhatsApp groups it's going to be going out. It's very interesting that this tefillah is specifically connected to Reish Chodesh 7. Why specifically now? And I would like to discuss a little bit this idea of the tefillah and the success that we have in viewing the Yiddish values that were given by Matan Torah, specifically in this time, the Chodesh and the Shabbos before Matan Torah. You hear me? Am I coming clear through?
Oh, that's better. Do that. Speak like
Okay,
that.
so
Yeah.
So getting back to the Tfilas HaShalah and why it's connected so much to Rosh Chodesh Sivan and Matan Torah. So there's an interesting question that's brought down, and that is, if you look in yesterday's chumash, every day of the week, there's a different chumash for the week. So you have Rishon, Sheni, Shlishi. Every day of the week, you're supposed to learn that chelik of chumash. This is already a Kabbalah from the Balatanya, from his teachers in the Magid and the Baal Shem, that every day you should learn a chumash, a parsha chumash of the week. And yesterday's chumash, it starts ve'ele toldes Moshe v'Aaron, and it continues whatever the day that Moshe Rabbeinu spoke on Sinai. And then the Torah continues and just tells us the kids of Aaron. So the question is, what happened? What's with the kids? What's with the kids of Moshe Rabbeinu? How come they're not mentioned? So this, of course, is a question that Rashi brings down. Rashi himself answers this question, but he answers it, and if you think about it, Eiker Chasim and Asefer, Rashi just explains why it says Moshe Rabbeinu's kids, and it doesn't say, why it says Aaron's kids, and it doesn't say Moshe Rabbeinu's kids, because it says that this teaches us that whoever teaches Torah to somebody else's kids, Melamed Kilu Yoldei, that the fact that the Torah is counting over here Aaron's kids and not Moshe's kids, and it's counting them as Moshe's kids, is because Moshe taught them Torah. Call him Melamed Ben Chaveri Torah Kilu Yoldei. So the question is, fine, that's very nice to tell me that Moshe Rabbeinu's kids are, Aaron's kids are part of Moshe Rabbeinu's kids. But why does the Torah not count from all people's kids, Moshe Rabbeinu's kids himself? If you think about it, if it wasn't for Moshe Rabbeinu, we wouldn't have a Yiddishkeit, we wouldn't have a Torah, we wouldn't have anything. Every Rebbe, you know his kids, you know his lineage, you know those that were Memala Mekoimei. And in the Torah, Leviim, Ksuvim, you find no mention of Moshe Rabbeinu's kids. They're talked about in the beginning, when they were born, before they came down to Mitzrayim, and then we don't see them again. This is it's a Pele Gadol. And many of the Mefarshim don't even speak about this. It's not even something which is brought up as people. It's like one of these klutz kashes that nobody thinks about, and no one ever talks about. But I heard once a Yesod in this, and it's based on a Ramban in this week's parsha. The Ramban in this week's parsha, he points out that how Klal Yisrael is being counted. And you have all these different misparim, and he looks through all the different shvatim, and you find that they have very, very big numbers. When it comes to shevet Levi, who were already counted from a much earlier age, from Ben Chodesh L'maylo, you find that their number was a very, very small number relative to the whole Klal Yisrael. So Ramban asks, what's up? Why is it that the Bnei Levi, which are counted from much, much earlier age, there should be much more. There should be much more kids. Why is it that there's so few kids from shevet Levi? So the Ramban, he answers a very, very important yesod. He says, based on the Medrash, that we know it says that all of Klal Yisrael were under the shibud, and only shevet Levi wasn't under the shibud. So it comes out, because that the Bnei Levi didn't have the shibud, therefore they didn't have the same amount of children either. Because kasher yifreitz, ken yirbe v'chen yifreitz. Kasher yanu esam, ken yirbe v'chen yifreitz. So when a person is enduring pain and suffering, this only makes that they should have a yisafa. So by Klal Yisrael that went through the shibud, the koshia shibud, the Mitzrayim, they had such suffering, this only brought about that they should have so much gain, they should be able to gain a lot. Hashem came when there was no pain, so there was also no gain. So in a similar vein, they explain also B'negei to Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu, he took L'chatchila back, his 2 kids, back to Mitzrayim. When Aaron and his brother saw them, what did he say? He said, it's enough what we have over here in Mitzrayim. You want to go bring more pain and suffering? Go bring them back. So it says that Moshe Rabbeinu told his wife he would take his 2 kids, and they brought them back home. They only came back by Matan Torah. They missed the whole journey. They missed the pain of Shibud and Koish Mitzrayim, the Kriyas Yamsuf, Mechames Amalek, the Mon, all the problems. They missed all the hardships. They're coming for the Torah, which is not niskabel ba'af. So then it's not going to be having a kiyum. And that's what the Gemara in the Dorim says in Daf Pei, that the Gemara asks her, why is it that we don't find that the big Nesiim, the big Doilim, that their kids should be B'nei Talmidei Chacham, their kids are not always following them. Although there's another Gemara that says Torah Machzeres or Ashani Shalai, but Mitzias is, the Torah is Machzeres, but it doesn't always find success over there. And the Gemara says it's L'lamda, it comes to teach us a lesson that Torah is something that is not, it's not to unique people. It's not like, okay, if I have the right family and I have the right money, then I'm going to have Torah. Torah comes to a person with one thing, that a person has Mesiras Nefesh for it. A person has a lot of work for it. A person has to be Mekabel Torah from himself. And that's the Yemei HaChana that we have to Matan Torah, that a person goes through the steps of Nasav and Nishma. He comes and he's preparing himself to go to be Mekabel the Torah. That's Torah. Torah is not something that's per se a Yerusha. Of course, there's a Torah Tzivilanu Moshe Mirashkel Yaakov as part of Klal Yisrael. But the main Kabbalah Torah has to do with Avodah of a Yid, the way is Lamato. With this Mahalach, I would like to address another question, another big question that's asked. There's a sefer called Torah Shleima. He put together a lot of different midrashim on chumash. So he asks a moedike ploizdike shaila, and he brings over there many different tirutzim to this shaila. The question is, if you think about it and you look at the reality, Matan Torah, the way we have it, the Chag HaShavuos, nowhere in Tanakh is it mentioned anything that this is a Yom Tif of Kabbalah Torah. It's a Yom Tif of that's connected to the Shtei Alachem, which is connected to the Korban HaOmer, which was brought on the second day of Pesach. We have Sfiras Omer. The Torah doesn't even say why we're counting the Omer. It just says Sfiras Omer. We know that this has to do because the Yidden were counting down to Matan Torah, and the Torah doesn't say such a thing. It doesn't say count to Matan Torah. It just says to count from this day until this day. So think about it. Matan Torah, this should be the front and center of our Kabbalah Torah. This is the greatest Yom Tif. All the other Yom Tovim are in a way secondary to Matan Torah. Matan Torah, without Torah, what do we have? So yes, there's an aspect of a nation that had a miracle that happened to them, but ultimately it says that we should become Am Kaddish, and we went into Lavrocha B'Vris. Matan Torah is when the Yidden became Gedim. In fact, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, he brings one of the reasons why we eat Machali Choliv on Shavuos. He brings all the different tirutzim, but he's shoyl many of them. I don't want to get into the whole aruchos. The answer that he says is the one that's most stimtais merste, which would make most sense, is that at that time the Yidden became Gedim. So it comes out that all the shchita that they would have had would have been avela, so wouldn't be kosher. So when you come to a matzav of the next morning, they're now Gedim, frische Gedim. It's the Yom Tif. They can't bring meat. The only thing that was left for them to eat was fresh milk. So that's why you have cholov and you have milk. You have milk on Shavuos because the Yidden weren't able to eat anything else. Akapanim, this is the Yom Tov that we became a nation. This is the day when we became Yidden. We became connected to the Eibishter. So you wouldn't mention this in the Torah somewhere? You wouldn't say, Klal Yisrael, Mekabel given the Torah, jetzt Lomer sitzen weg, gedenken dem Tag. In fact, it was one of the Sheish Schiris, Mantiskes, Yem says, Yem Asher Matlu Fnei Hashem Lekacha B'chayrev. You have to remember the day that you stood in front of them. But again, it's B'havla. This whole thing of Matan Torah is not mentioned. So, Balabatish Geret, the Al-Shach HaKadosh gives an answer. He gives a very pashat answer. He says, unfortunately, we know that when the Yidden came to Matan Torah, of course, there was a lot of fanfare. There was koilus of rakim, and then the Eibishter was mizgala to them. The Gemara and Shabbos, how they're parchan shmasam and everything. The whole shebang that happened, and they got Tchias HaMesim, Tal Torah Mechayeu. But unfortunately, very shortly afterwards, not even 2 months later, they already started to do a big avera, and then Moshe Rabbeinu came down on Shiva Asar B'Tammuz, and he saw that the Mechoilis and the Leikoil Anos Chalusha, Leikoil Anos Gvura, Kol Anos Anichi Shemea, they had all these chatoyim. They killed over there chur, and they did avodah zarah and gili arayos, you name it. It was a churban. The Ashach HaKadosh says, like the Gemara says also in Shabbos, it's a bezoyin. It's a bezoyin. It's b'yem chupasei. The kala was mezana tachas ba'aleha. It's a sad day. It's not a day that we remember glowingly. So because of this, the Torah, it's a choiz gemidin. This is like the Al-Shach HaKadosh. He says that the Torah didn't want to mention Matan Torah because of the negative connotation that's associated with it. That's one answer that he brings. There's another answer, and this is more according to halacha to this question of why Matan Torah is not mentioned. This is a very interesting thing. If you look carefully at the actual din of this Yom Tov, this Yom Tov is the 50th day of bringing the Korban Omer. Now, nowadays, Hillel Azaken already set our calendar in a system which everything is worked out perfectly. So we have Chadashim Meleim and Chadashim Chasedim. Some months are 29 days, some days are 30 days. Those I learned Gemara Rosh Hashanah and other Gemaras that discuss this a little bit. You know, you're familiar that there's 29 and a half days Be'erech in every month. They always have to make it up between every other month. L'maisa, before this calendar was set by Hillel Azaken until Mashiach comes, till 6,000, which we're almost there. There used to be this Mikachin Apiyariach, Chedesh Hazalochem, Lachem Afilu Betos. Like the Gemara says, the Mishnah says over there in Rosh Hashanah that Gezrani Alechem, to come on your Yom Kippur with your makel and your mata and with your money bag, because Lachem means Torah says Bezdin is Keveya. Bezdin is Keveya when Yom Tov is. So it comes out you could have sometimes Chavtes days in Nisan, you could have Chavtes days in Iyar, and Shavuos, which Machlokes in the Gemara itself, if it was on Vav or Zayin Sivan, sometimes it floats, because the 50th day, sometimes it could be on Hey Sivan, sometimes it could be Vav Sivan, sometimes it could be Zayin Sivan, if you're following a little bit the math of 50 days. So it's never in a precise time. That's why also the Nusach HaTfil that we say is Ma Matan Torah Seno, because it's in the time, because the perfect timing you'll never have. You'll never have. Agavurche, the Inyan Linim Ba'isa Inyan Sam Sefer, he has a very powerful question. He asks, Mele the Sukkos, I understand what Yom Tov Sheni is, because it took a certain amount of days in order to get the Shluchei Bezdin out. Rosh Hashanah, Avadigevis, they didn't even know it themselves until then. Everyone has this Yom Arichta, so for sure it's a Sveika de Yom. And Pesach, the same thing, it's Yudalit, but Shavuos is the Nar Chamishim Yom. So he says, what's the Sveika de Yom? There's no Sveika de Yom. There's no Sveika de Yom by Shavuos. So why do we keep 2 days? The Torah says keep Chamishim Yom from Machas Shabbos. By that time, they already knew when the Chamishim Yom was. So we know Chamishim Yom. So the answer that he gives is that there's a klal by the Gzeres HaChachamim or Takanos Chachamim as lay plug. They didn't want to make a differentiation. So it comes out that the other Yom Tovim have a gather of a suffix. Mashenke by Shavuos, it's a gather of Vadai. It's a Vadai Takanos Chachamim. This is a Yom Tov, which is certainly the Yom Tov Sheni of Shavuos is for sure Midrabanan. There's enough suffix if it's Yom Tov or not. It's 100% Drabanan. Hagavurcha the Ksav HaKabbalah, he writes that that's why, according to Rabbi Yossi, Moshe Rabbeinu added a 51st day, because he knew that the calendar is eventually going to be set up in such a way that Zayin is going to be the Yom Tov Sheni Shel Galius. So he made that the actual Matan Torah should be on that day, to bring Kedusha into that day. But anyways, the point is, going back to the question, why is Matan Torah not mentioned in the Torah? Because Matan Torah is a floating a floating day. It doesn't have a set day. It's 50 days from Sfiras HaOmer. So since it's 50 days from Sfiras HaOmer, so therefore the Torah doesn't count it. But if you think about this, Hagova Kasha, why are we setting the Yom Tov by having the 50 days of Sfiras HaOmer? Why don't we just look at Chila, be Keveya that day, whatever it was, that day of Sivan, that was Orf Zion, make that day as the day. The counting could be a separate thing. Why is it that the Torah Dafke put such an emphasis on counting Svira rather than making the big Chiddush about Matan Torah? And based on the Yesod that we spoke about earlier, it seems that the explanation is as follows. What was the Chiddush of Matan Torah? Before Matan Torah, there was also Torah. It says, La'olam le'parshi yeshiva mehem. The Avis, Avram Avinu had a yeshiva. We went to the yeshiva of Shem Ve'ever. And Yaakov, we all know that he was sitting and he was learning in the yeshiva 14 years. And then Vayolim b'makim ahu, Vayolim sham, says Dafka, then he slept. But the other years he was sitting and learning. And then there was a shevet Levi, the Yaakov Shalach Lafan of Yehuda Geishno. He set up a yeshiva, shevet Levi. The whole time when they were in Mitzrayim, they were learning Torah. They knew all the halachas. They knew the Torah. It says in the Gemara that Avram Avinu kim kol Torah kula, even the 8 of Tafshilin, which is only Midrabanan. Even this he kept. So they knew the whole Torah. It was part of the common knowledge. Like the Zohar says, "Estakol beiraisu v'ora alma." Hashem looked into the Torah, and from the Torah He created the world. So obviously, the Eibishter knowledge of what He wanted was in the world. No, but then what was the Chiddush of Matan Torah? It says in the Medrash that before Matan Torah, all the mitzvahs that the Yidden kept, the Avis kept, Reichei Soya. Reichei Soya means that they had a gather of a ruach. There was a ruchniistic effect, but it didn't permeate the Gashmias. If I can just make this into picture this, if we managed to get the maklis of Yaakov Avinu, which it says in the Zohar that was me'ein the tefillin that we are mamshach hamshachas. So it says in the Zohar that the maklis of Yaakov Avinu had these certain yichudim that he was able to do with his maklis. But Liyatzur, he had real tefillin. Would those tefillin have any kedusha in them? There would be nothing. They have a spiritual, they have a reach, whereas the famous Ramban in the beginning of Parshas Lech Lecha, it says that Halach v'nisei Negba, that Avram Avinu was traveling back and forth on Negba. What was he doing? It says, the Ramban writes that Ma'aseh Avos similar bonim, that everything that the Avos did was a similar bonim, and the Ramban is Marich over there. He says that when the Avos, they did their avodah, they were sol asaderech, they made like a path in the road. Later, when we went on it, it becomes a lot easier. But the Avos, they only made the path. What they were not able to do is not able to actually make the world kedusha. There's a very famous pasuk. It says Shemayim LaHashem. It's in Hallel. V'haaretz nasan l'bnei Adam. I heard this word a number of years ago. The Kloisenberger Rebbe was over here he was in the Agudah, and he spoke, and he said, it must have been 10 years ago, and he said like this, that Shemayim LaHashem, as the Rachnius von Shemayim, das ist für die Eibishter. Haaretz, aber der Rachnius von Haaretz, the Ruchnius, who's in charge to make sure that there's Ruchnius An artist, Nasan Levnei Adam, this he gave to people. This is the job of every single one of us. When did we get this koyach, that we're able to permeate the Gashmias? This was a special gift that was given by Matan Torah. Like the Medrash says, that before Matan Torah, there was a gzeira, that al yoinim leyordel tachtoinim, v'tachtoinim leyalu le'al yoinim, that there was a gzeira, and the Medrash gives a mashal that there was two kings, and they made a gzeira, nobody from each other's countries can marry each other. And one day, this king decided he wants to marry a girl from the other country. What did he do? He was mevatel the gzeira. He nullified the gzeira, and he said, "I'll be the first one." V'aniyam aspel. So the Medrash says, this is what it says in the pasuk: "Vayered Hashem al Sinai." Before Matan Torah, Ruchnis and Gashmis couldn't come together, and now the chiddush was that Gashmis comes together. So now going back to why is Torah not mentioning Matan Torah? If Torah would mention the whole story of Matan Torah, make it as a central Yom Tif, and that would be the day of celebration, then the ikr would be, this Yom Tov would have to do with Koyach HaElyon. It would have to do with like being superimposed from Lamayla, Kedushas coming down to the world. But that's not the point. The whole point of Matan Torah is that the Tachten, each one of us, should be the Kala who is going towards Likras HaChasen. That's why the minig is that the Kala, she goes and she dances around the Chasen. She's Mikabel the Chasen. Even though the Chasen does the Bedeknish, but later she goes to make the Kabbalah of the Torah, and that's why when it comes to Matan Torah, we go out of our way. We want to make sure that it's not mentioned Momayla. It should only be done Momata. That we should have the Kabbalah Satira. We should accept it with our own love and our own passion, and then we can be mashlim the kavana of what the Eibusher made this world. That he wanted that it should be a dira lo yizbarich b'tachtoinim. It should be a dwelling for him in this world b'tachtoinim. And in order for it to be a dira for him, the only way that can happen, he can have a nice place, is just like if you can use the mashal of a guest in a home, or even better yet, a husband in a proper home. That when a person is a guest in somebody else's house. So there's two types of hosts. One of them is, okay, he leaves the key and then he doesn't tend to him. And there's somebody else, he makes a mamish feel like part of the family, that the person feels so close to him, he feels so at home, he feels like it's his own home. He feels mamish, he feels amazing. He feels here he can express himself, he can say what he wants. So Kaviyachol, we're the hosts of the Eibishter. Sometimes we're compared to the Isha of the Eibishter. Sometimes we're considered to be other things to the Eibishter, Bonamatim. But the idea is, it's our job to invite the Eibishter in. And this is why the Shalach Kodesh was masakin this tefillah on Erev Reish Chodesh, because ultimately you could have all the yichus, you could have all the Torah, you could have all the money, everything. And the end of the day is, everybody has to know that the Torah is going to be something that you have to be miyagea for yourself. This is something that has to come with your own af. And that's why Shevet Levi was a smaller Shevet, because they didn't have that yigia. That's why Moshe Rabbeinu's kids are not mentioned in the Torah, because the lesson for us is to teach us that we must realize that it's up to us, and that we have to do our part. And this is for sure true in our generation, the Der Yassim that we're in, that nobody could say, we're going to leave it to this Rebbe or to that person. Today, every one of us has to realize that we're the last generation, last moments before Mashiach. It's competent upon us to do our part, to be makabel the Torah, to be makabel the job, to realize that it's l'fkudeihem to each person, that the Eibusher counts each one of us, and he says, you count, and you do your job. L'digleihem, each one according to their ability, this one with his money, this one with his writing, this one with his brains. And God in Gichon, we should be zeiche to the Torah Chadashim Iti Tzei, the true purpose of why Matan Torah was given in the first place, and that is that it should be B'yem Chasanasei Matan Torah. We should have the Chasana, and it should be Meheri Yisham Bar Yehuda V'chutz Yisrael Shalom Kol Chasam Kol Kala, with the coming of Mashiach B'meheri V'yameinu.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Shkoyach.
Oh yeah.
Shkoyach.
What was the just I have two questions. I'm still in interview mode. You guys will have to accept me. But the aside of the Ramban was what? Because
The Ramban asks, why is it that Shevet Levi had the fewest from all the Shvatim?
Right. So what was his answer? Because they were not part of the Agudah?
Yeah, because since they didn't have the Koishia Shibud on them, therefore they didn't have
Shisha
they
Bekeres.
didn't have so much kids either.
But
Because
there was
So
significantly small.
So it comes out that Yagia equals success. That the harder you have to struggle, then the greater the reward in the end.
No pain, no
And
gain.
Leviim are getting the short end here, right? I gotta.
No,
listen,
but
we only look.
you're being used as the marshal that we all have to, don't hang your hat because you're a Levi. You got to be a
Exactly.
Shimon Akiva. The
Yeah,
Levi is
that-
just
that's-
Not the one to work in the base of Migdash. They did get, even they were less in number, but they seem to have gotten the plum jobs, if that's the plum job, to carry the Mishkan.
Fine.
Right.
This is a different aspect. The fact that they got the avodah, this had to do because Aaron was the Isha Chesed and he gave over Yerusha this love to them. And besides that, when they were in Mitzrayim, they were learning Torah. They were the Shevet Levi. They were the ones that kept Yiddishkeit alive. So maybe on other aspects they had Mesiras Nefesh, but on the Chasher Yanuch Ken Yirba V'Chen Yifreit, that they didn't have.
Yeah, so that's
Everything is relative.
So that leads to the second question, because Aaron's kids did have something Birusha. They did become the Kohanim, and something did get transferred. But Moshe Rabbeinu's for some reason didn't transfer. Why is
Well, Moshe Rabbeinu's kids, Aaron, at least his kids were in Mitzrayim. They were yarbesiv loisam. At least they saw the pain, the affliction of the other Klal Yisrael. Shenke Moshe's kids, they were like complete strangers. They had nothing to do with it.
princes?
So it's more the lesson part of it. Obviously, each individual thing is the Torah speaks beklalim beprat. So the general principle is that when a person works hard for something, that's where they're going to see the most success. That's what the Eibishter wants.
Even though they had the Yegiyah from Torah in Mitzrayim, the Leviim.
So that's why maybe Yeru Mishpatach Yaakov. Maybe it's not that they had a Yegiyah, so they continue having Torah always by them and their kids, and that's why they're continuing always to be the Melamdim and the Meshars and the Beis Hamikdash. So on the Ruchniistic and Yonim, they had their avoid their Yegiyah, but we're talking about specifically on kids because they didn't have the Yegiyah in Mitzrayim. They didn't have the bracha of having a lot of kids. So it's two separate things. Wherever there's going to be a Yegiyah, that's where you're going to have Peiros.
Okay, Shkoyach.
We have here represented, how many Leviim are here? There's one Levi, and there's at least two Kohanim. Is there a third Kohen in the house? I'm not sure. Okay. Yeshikoyach, Rabbi Yankel, thank you very much. Thank you.
Yankel, that was fantastic. Shkoyach.
I just want to share with you the previous Dikkel Lubavitch Rebbe. He had a nusach. He used to vince on to everyone before Shavuos or Matan Torah. He would say Kabbalah Satorah Besimcha Ubepnimius. So the explanation of this bracha is based on what we said earlier. Simcha means that a person is happy with it. Like the Gemara says in Psachim that the Gemara over here has a whole discussion, different lashonos beneged to Yom Tov. If it's lachem or not, if it's lashem, kuli lashem, chetzi lachem. So it says be'atzeres, kuli. Everyone holds. It's be'inyan nami lachem. Kula moidid the inyan nami lachem. Everyone, when it comes to tzeres, everyone agrees you need to eat a little. So the question is, what's up with Shavuos? Why in Shavuos then you eat? That should be the day you should be the most learning and davening. Mainly Pesach was a nace on the guf. Sukkot is connected also to the guf because it's the Eibishter saved the Yidden from the heat and the tzal, the sherev. He helped the Yidden from the sun and the scorch of the ground. You have a sukkah, that's both on the Gashmis. The Matan Torah is doch beruchnius. Dafke b'atzeres kuli boy be'ini nami lechem. What's up? So the Gemara says it's because Yom Shenitna by Torah. It's the day that the Torah was given. And Rashi explains that since the way a person shows simcha chedva in this world is by eating basar and by eating food, but by you not eating, you're showing up as a certain siman of not happiness. So therefore, when it comes to the Torah, Kabbalah Torah, a person has to show that they have. That's the answer up Nigla. But the Rebbe, he gave a beautiful explanation based on what we said earlier. The whole meaning of Matan Torah was that it has to take through the world. It's not enough that Torah should be Shemayim. Torah b'leiva Shemayim. Torah was given ba'aretz that we should change this world. There was a koyach that was given dafke to us, human beings. Matan Torah is a time we have to be besimcha to be mekabel the Torah in our physical bodies. It has to be something that's imbued within us. It has to permeate our being. And then it can be bepnimius. If it's besimcha, so then it can also internalize with us. It becomes one with us. Otherwise, the whole thing is like, there's me and then there's the Torah. I just share with you a short story, anecdotal story. The Balatanya, he went to the Magid and he became a chassid. Before that, he wasn't officially a chassid. He actually married his wife. Was her father was a big gvir. A very Litvish known misnagid at the time. His name was Yehuda Leib Segal. And when he heard that his son-in-law was verchapt, became a chassid, he said he demanded from his daughter, he demanded from him to give a get to his daughter. And she refused to accept the get. She said, no, I want to stay married. So he said, I'm taking away all the nedunya. I'm not giving you any money. You're not be able to support yourself. Anyways, one of the questions that they asked him is, what did you learn over there already? He was considered to be a Gana Ga'oinim. He was considered to be like when I was 13 years old, about Balatanya, all the Gedolim of his time, they called him the Rav. He was beyond a Goin. And so what did you learn over there? So he answered like a Litvak. A Litvak answered to be a Litvak. He said that learned by Magid, he learned by the Magid, as V'daf Kevei Itim Zayin LeTorah. I learned that we have to set times to learn Torah. Everyone looked at him and they thought that he fell from the moon. That's what you learned by the Magid, to be Kevei Itim LeTorah? By us Litvaks, we own Torah. We're the most Kevei Itim LeTorah. The Hasidim are a little bit wishy-washy about that. So he explained like this. He says, yes, Enachanami, by you guys, you have Torah. But you have what's called Kviyim Itim LeTorah. You have a time, so some people have an hour a day, some people have 2 hours a day, some people have 18 hours a day or 24 hours, 23 hours a day. But at the end of the day is that 1 hour that is not Torah, is themselves. So there's the Chatzi Lachem and Chatzi LaHashem. But what he said he learned by the Magid was, Kviyas Itim LeTorah means that your whole Metzias is Torah. Kviyas Itim, a mensch darf Kveya sein sich, in the Itim, in his time, everything is Torah. That even when he's eating or he's sleeping, whatever it is, it's all Torah. So that's Simcha and Bepnimius. When it comes to Kabbalah Torah, we darf Mekabel sein the Torah, as wird ein Sach mit uns. L'chaim.
L'chaim. Shabbos Shkoyach.
Ewig is er helfen, shall sein alle Bruches.
Amen. Amen.
Okay, Tzei, you best everyone.
Have a good
Take
night.
care, Yankel. All the best.